There's a joke that I'm working on that's not perfected yet, but it's blaming Zach Braff for my wrongful conviction because of Garden State, and how in 2007 the manic pixie dream girl was all the rage. Here's this quirky girl who likes to wear hippie clothes and play the guitar and sing and do yoga like no one's watching, and she gets accused of murder because she's not normal. I have felt deeply, deeply punished for being a quirky, silly person because of how much pressure was put on me and how I was constantly being viewed in the worst possible light. I felt like I had to be perfect, which means I had to be invisible. And how do you live your life like that? How do you have a sense of who you are when the thing that you are meant to do is disappear? There were times where I felt more free in prison than I did when I got home. I felt so alone. I felt so angry, and I didn't know what to do or how to unpack this new reality, which was, I am forever the girl accused of murder. I am trapped. I cannot tell you the number of people I have interviewed who have been victims of the criminal justice system or victims of crime, innocent people who say that how the media treated them was more traumatizing and worse than being raped, sodomized, beaten. That should give us pause. The truth of what happened to Meredith and the truth about the person who killed her was forgotten for the sake of a product that was being sold by the prosecution and the media to a global audience. We should be thinking about, how do we give the opportunity for people whose stories have been stolen from them to have a say in what their story means and how their story is told. I would love for the trolls to read my book. I would love for Meredith's family to read my book. My prosecutor read my book, and he said that while, of course, he disagrees with me about a lot of things, he has never felt so seen. And I've been so immensely rewarded for having that ability to build a bridge where someone else might otherwise never would build a wall. When I first reached out to him, I'll be honest, I thought, if I could only just show him who I really am. He's gotta know that he was wrong about me. He's gotta realize that I am not Foxy Noxy Luciferina, a drug-addled, woman-hating whore. That is not who I am. You want to understand why the human being across from you didn't respect and acknowledge your humanity, to acknowledge that a mistake might have been made and that you were hurt because of it. And I allowed myself to remain open to hearing between the words and behind the message what he was saying to me, not explicitly. And there was also a lot that was explained to me explicitly. The admission that he could have been wrong about things. The admission that I'm not the person that he thought he was prosecuting. The admission that he caused me to suffer, and that me reaching out to him was one of the most important and beautiful things that had ever happened to him, and it changed his life. I was shocked. I realized that for the first time in my adult life, I had done something that I felt defined me more than all of the narratives that had been put out there about me. Now, I feel like I can trust myself to see the world clearly. And by seeing the world clearly, be able to be an effective agent in the world and be able to do things that I can control that define me. And that, for me, is freedom. Because it's not having my name completely cleared, because it isn't. And it's not, my prosecutor apologizing to me, because he hasn't. I don't have a relationship with the family of my murdered friend because of him. It's unfinished business. I've never been able to really grieve her properly or say goodbye to her. I only knew her for a few weeks, but I do carry her legacy with me, and her death is inextricably woven into my identity now. And I do feel like, of the two of us, fate flipped a coin, and I ended up being allowed to survive my study abroad. A 20-year-old girl who showed up at home and found a crime scene, I just feel so sad for her. She had no idea what to do, what to think, what to feel. And I was immensely suggestible and impressionable because when in doubt, I relied on the nearest authority figure, which was the police. And instead of helping me, I was betrayed. That should never happen. This is a story that didn't make it in the book because it's more recent, but my husband and I recently experienced home invasion. Someone broke into our home, and I paused before dialing 911 because I was like, the last time I dialed 911 for help, I got sent to prison for something I did not do. And I was trying to think in my mind, is there any way that I can take my 3-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old son and somehow jump out of the second-story window and run for help? I couldn't. So I called 911. The police show up. This guy's already gone away, he's disappeared. And the police are, interacting with my 3-year-old daughter who's just like, what's going on? I'm comforting my screaming son, and they're giving her a little police badge sticker. And I wanted to think, like, what a nice thing. But another part of me was like, it's a lie. Like, I was so conflicted. And I hate that I feel that conflicted. Because I do not believe in demonizing law enforcement, and I do not believe in demonizing the criminal justice system. But God, it hurts. And God, I'm still scared.
There was no evidence of me at the crime scene. Why aren't we talking about the fact that the burglar's DNA
You drag it all up again,
everywhere?
which is bound to disgrace
have lost an
Meredith
appeal
Kercher.
against a slander conviction.
When I first got pregnant with my daughter, I was really, really scared about her living in the shadow of the worst experience of my life. And then she came out of my vagina, kicking and screaming, and I was struck with this sudden realization that my daughter was in pain and there was nothing I could do about it. I know what it feels like to go through pain, and I know how to tell the difference between the inevitable pains of life and the inevitable suffering that we experience. I feel like so many of us have this idea of our life as it should be. We should get what we deserve. We should never hurt. We should never lose the people we love. And then the life gives us something very different. And if we do not hold that reality, if we push it away, we are only making ourselves suffer even more. And so I think right now what I think about is showing how to live with pain and not have it break you. And I know I can show my daughter how to do that.